When you're in a deep depressive episode, it can feel impossible to get out. So here are some practical tips that you can use in order to help yourself feel better. So the first tip that I can give you is drop down to the bare essentials, right? When you're depressed, you want to make sure that you're doing the absolute bare essentials that you need in order to survive, right? So make sure that you're just eating a little bit, make sure that you're doing the work that is absolutely required of you to do. Like if you don't do it, you're going to get fired from your job or you're going to lose a scholarship. Remove any side projects, extracurricular stuff like that. If possible, take a sick day if you can. Take a couple of days off. Remember, depression is a mental illness. If you had any other kind of illness, this is how you would treat it. You would drop down to the absolute bare needs that you needed to get done, and you would take a day off if possible. So keep in mind, it's completely okay to do that. That's kind of the first thing you can start doing when tackling a depressive episode. The second thing that you want to focus on is taking all of your healthy habits and then just toning them down. So when we're in a depressive episode, we can't really keep up the same exact pace that we usually keep up when we're not in a depressive episode. But the thing is, we don't want to completely abandon our healthy habits. So for example, if you're running every day, right? Like let's say you run for 20 minutes a day. That's a great habit. But when you're in the depressive episode, we're probably not going to be able to do that, right? If you feel like you can do it, that's great. But what I would suggest is you take that habit and just shrink it down a ton, right? So instead of running outside for 20 minutes a day, try going outside on the walk for just 5 minutes, right? So we're still getting a little bit of activity. We're moving around, we're getting outside, but we're just toning it down a ton. It also depends on the severity. If you can't get out of bed at all, then don't be worried to just drop your healthy habits completely for a couple of days. You have to kind of be understanding, be patient, and be kind with yourself. The third thing that you want to keep in mind is interact with people. But when I say interact with people, just do the absolute bare minimum you can, right? This could be something as simple as sending someone a funny meme. You don't necessarily have to open up or anything like that. Just do a little bit of social contact. Another big thing is to do stuff that you really enjoy and that's really comforting. So for example, whenever I get depressed, I have certain comfort shows that I'll come back to that help me feel a lot better. Maybe because they're funny, maybe because I can relate to them. I have certain maybe video games or stuff like that, certain hobbies that you can kind of fall back on whenever you get depressed. It's okay to take it a little bit easier, maybe to veg out a little bit for a couple of days or maybe even a couple of weeks if you absolutely need it. Another big thing that you can do is reach out to your mental health provider if you have one. So if you're seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist or something like that, reach out to them and let them know. Give them a quick phone call. Typically therapists will have some kind of phone program or coaching, or you can text them or something like that. Just reach out to them real quick, be like, hey, I'm depressed. What do you recommend I do? And they actually might be able to give you some more tailored recommendations. If you're on medication, especially, this isn't necessarily advice because I'm not a doctor, but I would say speak to your doctor. Reach out to your psychiatrist if you can and be like, hey, I'm feeling XYZ way. Is this normal? Am I supposed to be feeling this way? Should we change the medication? Stuff like that. And they'll be able to guide you best on what to do. So now that we understand what to do in a depressive episode, let's go over what should you do in order to prevent depressive episodes or to make them less impactful. Obviously, there's the kind of basics that you want to hit. You want to be exercising, you want to be eating healthy as much as you can, avoiding sugar, avoiding processed food, meditating, sleeping regularly. If you're on medication, keeping that going, staying consistent with it. And then also with therapy, again, you want to try and stay as consistent as you possibly can. Outside of all of these main things though, what you can also do is, again, have strong social interaction, friends, stuff like that. That's really going to be the biggest buffer and preventative factor against depression. In addition to this, you can also try and find mental health support communities within your area. So if you go to a college campus, typically on college campuses, they have these. You can also join lots of anonymous communities online if you struggle with addiction. And even if you don't struggle with addiction, for all kinds of issues, there's typically some kind of support group. Just go online, find one in your area, and then just go and talk about your struggles there. You can also make a lot of friends in these kinds of things, right? It can be super helpful. So that's all for this video. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap of everything that we just talked about. So when you're in a depressive episode, you want to drop to the bare essentials and treat it like you're sick. You want to take all of your healthy habits and tone them down. So if you're running 20 minutes a day, you might want to drop that down to just walking for 5 minutes a day. You also want to interact with people. So make sure that you're talking to people at least just a little bit. Have some stuff that you can kind of turn to when you get depressed. Make sure you reach out to your therapist or psychiatrist. If you have access to one, you can talk about medication management or specific strategies that your therapist might be able to suggest since they know you personally really well. And when you're not in the depressive episode, you want to make sure you're keeping kind of your bases covered with healthy eating, sleeping, exercise, meditation, medication, therapy, having good support systems around you. So building strong friendships and then going to these kind of, anonymous meetings. So I hope this helps. Thank you so much for watching and take care.